Yes. This is my family tree. This is my grandpa and my grandma. My grandpa is Mr. Spardi and my grandma is Mrs. Yatim. They have 4 children. Is my mom, Mrs. Haro, and my dad, Mr. Spardi. The first child is Hilda,
Okay. The
my
second?
older sister.
Okay, your sister. Okay.
And the last one is me,
Done. So what is your full name?
Siti Hanifah Fatimah.
Okay. Go on.
And this one is my uncle, Mr. Ilham, and my auntie, Mrs. Lulu.
Okay.
Their children is Rosha and Arkan, my cousin.
Okay. So Rasha is Arkan is your cousin, Nada?
Yeah,
Yeah. Thanks for your explanation, Nada.
you're welcome.
Makan.
Family. There are grandparents is Mr. Toyo and Mrs. Sumiati. They have 2 children is Mr. Anthony and Mr. Salim. Mr. Anthony is my father and Mrs. Musdalifa is my mom. I am Aisyah. My brother is Aziz. My uncle Mr. Salim. My aunt Mrs. Nurul. My cousin are ready. That's my family. This is my family tree. There are my grandparents. Grandfather Mr. Rabani and grandmother Mrs. Kasihati. They have 2 children, Mrs. Anis and Mrs. Vivi. My mom is Mrs. Anis and my father is Mr. Wicaherno. I'm Appa and my brother Eban. My aunt Mrs. Vivi and my uncle Mr. Rian. My cousins are Saula and Asila. That's my family. Thank you.
This is my family tree. They are my grandparents, Mr. Sukiman and Mrs. Siti Mudawama. They have two children, Mrs. Rika and Mrs. Nadir. Mrs. Rika is my mom and Mr. Faruk is my father. I am Naswa. My sister is Mrs. Raquel and baby Rania. My aunt is Mrs. Nadir and my uncle is Mr. Agung. My cousin are baby Inara. That's my family. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ethan and
This is.
this is my family tree. My grandpa, Mr. Arajib, and my grandma, Mrs. Wakia, and my uncle, Mr. Ruslan, and my auntie, Mrs. Alfia, and my father, Mr. Arimo, and my mother, Mrs. Amina, and my cousin is Iqbal and Ansa, and my sister and me, Intan. Thank you. Hello, this is my blood family. They are my grandparents, Mr. Dimyati and Mrs. Surya, and my mother and father. My names are Mrs. Lut and Mr. Muslim. My parents 3 children. My parents have 3 children.
My parents have 3 children.
My parents have 3 children. Ivo, Ilsi, and Amanda. And my uncle names are my uncle is Mr. Soleh and my auntie Mrs. Hurt. The first child is Rina, the second Farel, and the last Fahmi. Thank you. My brother Wijak has a wife, Mrs. Rani. They have 2 children, Hawa and Sanu. My brother Aang has a wife, Mrs. Debbie. They have 2 children, Safa and Afka. My nephew are Afka and my niece is Hawa that's my family. So that's my family tree. Thank you.
This is my family tree. They are my grandparents, Mr. Sukiman and Mrs. Siti Mudawama. They have two children, Mrs. Rika and Mrs. Nadir. Mrs. Rika is my mom and Mr. Farooq is my father. I am Naswa. My sister is Mrs. Raquel and baby Rania. My aunt is Mrs. Nadir and my uncle is Mr. Agung. My cousin are baby Inara. That's my family. Thank you.
Today I want to tell you about my family tree. The first one is my grandfather named Hassan, and he has a wife, my grandmother named Erna, and they have a child, my mother Jenny, and my mother has a husband, my father Wira, and they have a child. Their first child is my sister, Beatrice.
Hello, I am Weni. It's my family tree. This is my grandparents, Mr. Mahraji and Mrs. Jamila. They have two children, Mrs. Sudati and Mr. Abdul Rahman. Mr. Abdul Rahman is my uncle, and Mrs. Rita is my auntie. They have two children, Abil and Aris. Abil and Aris is my cousin. Mrs. Sudati, Mr. Amal, it's my parents. They have three children, Mr. Wija, Mr. Aang, and me, Weni. My brother Wija has a wife, Mrs. Rani. They have two children, Hawa and Sanu. My brother Aang has a wife, Mrs. Devi. They have two children, Safa and Afka. My nephew are Afka, and my niece is Hawa, Sanum, and Safa. So, that's my family.